Hi everyone, welcome to 5 Paisa. I am Stacey Pereira and in the spotlight today will be the ITI Bharat Consumption Fund. ये एक ओपन एंडेड इक्विटी स्कीम है जो कंजम्पशन थीम को फॉलो करता है. इसका एनएफओ ऑलरेडी सब्सक्रिप्शन के लिए ओपन है एंड इट विल क्लोज ऑन द 20th of February. इस थीम के बारे में एंड स्पेसिफिकली इस फंड के बारे में और जानकारी के लिए let me bring on board Jatinder Pal Singh. He is the CEO of ITI Mutual Funds. Hi Jatinder, welcome to 5 Paisa. सबसे पहले हमें ये बताइए why the consumption theme. इस सेगमेंट में क्या ग्रोथ देखने को मिल रहा है and why have you chosen to now come up with the consumption fund?
Sure. Uh, Greetings of the day and thank you for having me on the show. So Stacey is a very interesting product that we are just launched. You know, so first of all, let me clarify. This is a thematic fund. So the if this fund was launched some 20 years back, 2 decades back, the the difference would have been this was a very restricted theme and restricted to maybe only a few segments, which would normally have been FMCG or staples, durables, and maybe we can say some other consumption points like auto and so on. But again, there were not too many companies, so this was not a very large in terms of market cap or in terms of the market share of the total market. But what has happened is this that in the last 2 decades, the Indian economy has gone up almost 7-8 times from a $500 billion economy to now somewhere between 3.5 to $4 trillion. The per capita income, which was close to $500 22 years back, has gone up to close to now between $2,500 to $3,000. Now all this and there has been and the key to this theme is also a very strong cultural change in habits, change in preferences of spending, consumptions, change where we are seeing that there is a from need-based spending because of increase in per capita and more money in hands of more people, there is a change where from need-based comfort and luxury spending is happening. So automatically the space has grown, and this is now also very much supported by the digitization, which has happened to has taken the has been a key participant to the growth of the economy as well as this theme in the last 1 decade especially. So very interesting times that are as I talk to you and the future, near future for next 1-2 decades, very interesting time for this consumption theme. And this, so I'm repeating, the theme is consumption where it is very broad-based, where aviation, telecom, real estate, FMCG, durables, non-durables, automobiles, which will include four-wheelers, two-wheelers, leisure, hospitality, like hotels, all of this now comes in and plays can be a part of the portfolio. So quite broad based, and this has happened for some of the reasons I just told you.
Right. So, like you were just mentioning, abhi consumption as we knew it as an investment theme is not the same. पहले की तरह नहीं रहा. So many different sub segments, if we have to call it, right? From OTT, consumer tech, e-commerce, QSR. So many of these new and especially these companies also now being listed and being among that space. आपको कौन से सब सेगमेंट में सबसे ज्यादा ऑप्टिमिस्टिक आपको लग रहा है?
Stacey, to अगर मैं simply पहले जवाब दूं later part of your question, this is a very dynamic stock market is very dynamic in nature. So, and to put it very simply, portfolio construction top down bottom up approach में होता है, wherein we look at various factors, and in that key would be growth. Key will be the valuation we pay for the growth. So which is also called, well, you can refer to that as book value, or you can refer to that as PE. Okay. Now it is so dynamic that I can't even put a certain segments to be permanent. So we will be making a portfolios post the NFO, which will be more like March, April, and so on. Okay. So depending upon how the market stands and our outlook, we'll construct the portfolio. So difficult to answer right now. But still, since you put a question, I'll reiterate that whatever we may construct in the next 2 3 months, it will not be fixed,
Right.
but opportunities across still. So you have already touched based on some of the key items, and within that, in I just refer to the part that digitization and preference changes has played a role in
Mm,
this.
mm,
Now,
right.
now what has happened is actually what is generally referred to as Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Z. I think Generation Z is not Generation Z. It will be Z1, Z2, Z3 because I think every 5 7 years a generation change is happening because of preferences change and income change and habit changes, urbanization happening and so on. So the space has actually opened up. So for us, it would have been a kirana shop, or maybe it would have been a big event going to a fancy bazaar or a marketplace to buy things, the physical feel look of it. But
True.
that went up to something called malls, and now we
Mm,
have a parallel space which is platforms, e-commerce, as you just talked about. But everything is not about one versus other. It is
mm,
about spending opportunities expanding the because of the economic spending, income power going up, and preference changes going up. So interesting space. Difficult to say which particular stocks, and beyond a point, we are not in a position to talk about that. But what has happened is last 3 4 months of consolidation in the market, some correction has,
mm,
and that has become. We are very excited that we will be making this portfolio now.
mm,
So,
mm.
and and that the budget has already put some paradigm shift towards this segment. So that will
Right.
also help us with a fresh mindset that where we want to construct a portfolio. So had I been talking to you maybe pre-budget, and that I'm talking to you proposed budget, I think that 1 lakh crore of the income tax benefit,
Yeah.
somehow some of it will trickle down into this segment. So construction of portfolio pre-budget and post-budget will be different. And I assume that going forward also many of these things are so dynamic, so difficult to pinpoint, but opportunity is there, and it is not a short-term opportunity. Maybe it is a opportunities which is multi-decadal, especially
Right.
considering Viksit Bharat vision or
Mm-hmm.
2047 plus or minus will help everything in this segment.
Right. So consumption as a whole, look at it from a long-term perspective is what you would say, and especially if you do have a fund like that that is looking at the dynamism of this whole segment, then I think this would be the way forward. But like you did mention about, with rising incomes, what we are seeing is this word premiumization that is, taking center stage, we would say, and that has been quite, prominent trend in this space, specifically we would say rather tailwind as well for the sector. But aage chalkar, do you see this trend shifting, or do you see it continuing, and what other such trends do you see that could boost consumption as a whole?
A very interesting question that Stacey you are putting, because you know especially the last 5 7 years, and somebody may even say last 15 years, there is a shift in the patterns of consumption. So in terms of the numbers, around 12 15 years back, India hit the $1,000 per capita income mark, and about 5 years or so we crossed the $2,000 per capita income. Now this both are very
Sure.
milestone numbers
Mm.
in terms of when we do the study on consumption and the trends in terms of in the economy. Because as I told you earlier, we are no more on the roti kapda side. Makan bhi, I think, was a very big item that time, right? So
True.
we are now from roti. Maybe if I can explain roti being the need, maybe move to parathas, which might be the comfort, and we move to pizzas, which might be the luxury kind of things. So we are no
Correct.
more talking about that basic logistics where almost every person in the economy may be having two-wheeler or four-wheeler,
Mm.
especially rural economy, as infrastructure of road network got set up. So
Right.
some of that is need, and some of it is also effect of income. And when all this happens, two three things play out. when the income levels increases. So per capita going up has led to a situation where premiumization has happened. So it is no more a biscuit. It may be a cookie to put it right. It is no
Right.
more a basic need of going on a holiday. It may be stars, 4 star, 5 star. I remember talking to somebody and my friend telling me that his child was telling they went on vacation and the child came back and said, when we'll go on a vacation. So my friend told his child that we have already come back from the vacation. The child said, look, we didn't get up in the aeroplane. So how can that be
Yeah.
a vacation? So
Right.
it is all to do with your income and your spending patterns. So aviation also happens to be part of this thing. So, but
Interesting.
just to put it in summary, it is per income levels growing. It is the patterns change in consumption, with especially premiumization that happening. It is urbanization, which is expected to hit the 40% mark in next few years. It is also the workforce age factor and the female coming into the workforce more with more percentage where the income more income can be spent and especially the choices are more in order of spending. So it is all plays happening together and somebody may say is it the question put a question is it over?
Mm.
My answer would be maybe, when we compare last 20-22 years, we have gone up 5-7 times. But
Right.
it now, do we have that opportunity in the future? I would put a large probability to that because
Mm.
from a 2,500 to $30,000 per capita income that we're running now, it is expected that maybe we'll move towards $7,000 in the next 10 years or so, and going towards that $10,000-11,000 in the next 20 years.
Mm.
So if all that is happening, what we created in the last almost 77, 78 years since independence, we may replicate that or more in the next 10 years, and naturally next 20 years is going to be even larger. So,
Right.
absolute power, absolute, it's not percentage left anymore. Absolute power of consumption spend is going to be very large, and you need to be visionary to
Mm.
and to see this, and then the challenges come down how to construct the portfolio because everything is not so secular when it comes to constructing a
True.
portfolio, but opportunities are large.
Right. In fact, I was going to say, yeah, we must have moved from, the biscuit to the cookie. But इस sector का fundamentals को अगर देखा जाए, तो what is your analysis? Where does it stand as of today? Because it has seen quite a bit of shift, we would say. But if you have to just look at in terms of performance or even valuation, how would you analyze it? And also, इसके potentials for growth कैसे दिख रहे हैं आपको?
So Stacy, थोड़ी disclaimer डालना चाह रहा हूँ कि we can work on indices since we have launched the fund.
Yeah.
The fund performance will come after in the coming near future. So what we did is we did a study of past, and the segment already exists as such in India. The only difference is if there are funds which are longer, or if you look at the indices which is much longer, like 20 years, we think it may not be comparable because the opportunity not large that time in terms of stocks or market cap, but that has
Right.
changed this. So as I talk to you, about 30% of the total market cap of Nifty comes within this segment. So it is not restricted to only few stocks like FMCG, and
Mm-hmm.
about 7% of the Nifty 500 is qualifies for this theme. So
Theme.
as I told you, many of them from telecom to durables, electronic items, and so on, apparels and many other companies, to two-wheelers and so on. So we did an analysis how the Nifty India Consumption Index has
Okay.
done in the last recent time. So in the last 11 years, since 2014 to 2024, Nifty and Nifty 500 index,
Mm.
whatever returns they gave, Nifty India Consumption Index gave approximately. So this is just a simple answer because
Yeah.
you see our presentations and slides, the details are there. So it has given approximately 1.5 to 2%
More.
returns more than the indices. And more interesting thing was that this came at lower volatility. So there I think quite broad-based index and multi-segments or multi-sector and industries come within this. We'll have
Right.
opportunities in different times in different segments also. And the volatility, if we go by the past trends, which may or may not happen in future, but we think that the opportunity is there where some alpha can be created. So, and my hope is that with this segment, which may boom more and more opportunities may come in, and very interesting times coming in future. So maybe the opportunity may be larger out there. And
Right.
we are agnostic to market cap, so we are not fixed on
Hmm.
large small. So many new listings are happening, and many of the companies are very innovation oriented, not only because of technology, but because of product also.
Right.
So many of those opportunities will play out in the next 10, 20 years. So we think that this is just past trend, may or may not happen in future, but we think it's a good number to begin with,
Hmm.
and we think there's a good probability that this may play out in future also.
तो चलिए फंड स्पेसिफिकली के बारे में बात करते हैं. हाउ डू यू सी द आईटीआई भारत कंजम्पशन फंड poised to capture all of these opportunities?
Sure. So we are going to make a portfolio in the current context of the market. We already know, right, some of this, and we are amidst some correction going on. So consolidations is happening. So as I talk to you, what we have decided is the opportunity are many.
Yeah.
But how do we look at constructing a portfolio? One, the universe of this fund is like 500 plus stocks. So maybe 500, 550 stocks. And this is a dynamic number because, more listings happening in this place or merger, it depends upon those things also. But opportunity is not restricted like very few stocks. It's quite large. So what we will do is we will create a portfolio based on top-down, bottom-up approach. Naturally, ultimately, when sector has to be looked at, or that, and then we go to the stock and depending on growth, valuation, various other factors, we buy that. It is going to be quite diversified within the theme. So 80 to 100% of the portfolio needs to be invested in this scheme. So we have an opportunity, which is not necessarily that we'll invest in other themes, but we have opportunity up to 20% being in non-consumption themes.
Okay.
But and we think the scheme is quite scalable. So the portfolio construction will happen accordingly, and it will happen in contemporary context of the market. Keep taking into account how the future we think of the stock looks like.
Right. I would like you, JP, to just give our viewers at least some sense of ये portfolio creation कैसे होगा, किस तरह के stocks आप चुनेंगे, especially for this fund. You said it will happen post, after the NFO, you will sit back and see the newer stocks that are coming in. But just a taste for our viewers of what type of stocks they would get to see in this fund. What is your strategy in this whole portfolio creation?
Yes, Stacy. So, Stacy, what I'll say, I'll put the answer more broad-based. So, what we have decided is maybe in the theme, we will think about three main macro concepts. One, because what is happening, let me give you the background. India and the world is changing parallelly, and this happens when there are paradigm shifts, and the paradigm shift that world is going through, and India is part of it, is for last 20, 30 years, because technological changes have brought in, new concepts, new opportunities. So what we have thought is, and just to give you an example, I'll not take a stock name, but just to give you an example, there is in the last few years, we have heard about electric vehicles. Now you can debate it will be successful or not successful, right? But there's a challenger, and there are companies which are purely in the electric segment side. And maybe we can think about, without naming the company, we can think about a two-wheeler company which is purely in the two segment, only electric vehicles.
Okay.
But But in globally, we have companies in two-wheeler which are like ranked 1, 2, 3 in the global context by the number of the business they do.
Right.
So, so there is a challenger, and there is a company which exists by
Mm.
existing technology. So in order to be prepared for future, these companies are also taking the challenge on, and we work in that electric segment also. So the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity out here is a new company, and the
Okay.
opportunity out here is also the existing company where these changes due to the environment requirements and so on will also bring in a change in them. So for a portfolio manager, exciting and challenging. So both
Right.
have opportunity, and in the end, much later we'll come to know how right or wrong somebody is. So this is only one example, but same things are happening across. So what we are deciding is because of and there is one key thing which is unique to India. When the world in many countries like USA, or we will talk about Japan, or we will talk about Germany or UK, which were the top economies in the world. When they grew, the digitization was not so much.
Mm.
Digitization more a factor last maybe 20, 30 years, and
Correct.
more so I would say even last one decade. So the many new companies which have come in, many countries which grew, especially consumption space, may not have had this digitization opportunity, which India is going through. So we are going through an era where our economy is growing. We are going through an era where per capita is there, preferences changes there, and digitization is there, where many key changes will happen, which we don't have a past precedence.
True.
So what we think is we need to be open-minded, and that is why the portfolio construction broadly will be maybe in companies which are well settled, growing, scalable businesses,
Mm.
cash flow management. So some portion will be allocated there. Some portion will go to the same kind of situation, but where companies may have higher growth. So maybe we may have to pay a little more valuations for that, but
Mm.
valuation for a growth purpose. And lastly, the new age innovating companies that I talked about parallelly, we look at that also. But
Right.
ultimately, portfolio construction will not be bound by any percentage by what I said. It is indicative,
Mm.
but we will be open to the new age opportunities also, which looks very exciting to us. So we think in a portfolio construction, what indicative number of stocks sometimes people ask may differ
Yeah.
depending on income and depending on opportunity. But the space looks like about 500 stocks today currently, which may
Okay.
my guess increase, and we will take all the opportunities to construct the portfolio.
Right. So we're not giving us any specific number ki कौन से stocks will be there, but there is quite a big, I would say, huge opportunity out there, and the different kind of companies that you're going to be evaluating to be making a part of this portfolio as well. If you're giving almost 20 to 30%, weightage to the new and emerging trends as well, so you are keeping a quite balanced approach, I would say, when you're looking at portfolio creation, especially for a fund that is based on consumption, and there is no one definition anymore, we could say, for consumption as a whole. But let's look at the other side now. Let's get to the investors. Who do you think is NFO के लिए एक ideal investor कौन होगा, and who would be best suited for it? With what kind of risk appetite does one need to have if they're looking at this consumption fund?
So I think since this theme is quite broad-based, this opportunity is there that every investor who should come in with a time in mind. Uh, the past trends, as they show that the performance of the index has been at a lower volatility and quite a decent number in the past. So somehow we think that this is an opportunity which is there for everyone, and
Hmm.
since that this is quite diversified, as we talked in the last few minutes. So the opportunity is not only is not like sectoral; it is quite diversified in terms of theme. So people should come in with little time horizon in hand. Rather, I would say investors should think about this opportunity with much longer as part of the portfolio,
Okay.
because as things change, the opportunity out here will be large also. So no doubt, well, this is an equity product, so equity risk and those things will lie out here. But
Hmm.
we have already talked about the opportunity and some of the risk are here before. So keeping
Yeah.
that in mind, I think this can be both strategic allocation in the portfolio, or somebody thinks, look, this need to be tactical for maybe next 5, 7, 8 years. It can be tactical, especially in the context if due to the changes in budget and other things, if there is a shift in,
Hmm.
or there's an opportunity in terms of for the next few years, even that investors can look at as a tactical allocation. But keeping in mind that this is equity markets as well as equity portfolio, so all those risk profiling and time horizon need to be considered.
Right. So interesting. Keep a long-term horizon. Good. You would say not really high risk appetite, but also a tactical allocation is what you're saying. So that is how this fund as a whole would be created. But also tell us a little bit about the people managing this fund, and where does it, on the risk meter, if one has to put it on that spectrum, where would you place the consumption fund that you all are putting out?
Yes, yes. So Stacey, uh, uh, we have the we have two fund managers managing this fund. So
Okay.
we have Mr. Rohan Kode and we have Mr. Devan Shah. Both have excellent experience for the market and good track records, and they are already managing multiples of our fund in our total boutique. So just to reiterate, Mr. Rohan Kode and Mr. Devan Shah. And in terms of the riskometer, this is an equity product. So 80 to 100% of this portfolio will go into the consumption theme. So
Yeah.
automatically, the becomes in the highest category,
Hi.
and all those is shown in the it's equal to any other equity product that way. So for a key message to the investors, uh, you know, come with time horizon, whether SIP or lump sum, both
Mm.
do well. And I think somewhere this theme will play out well and will be very different in the next 10, 20 years. Uh, uh, Opportunities will be very different, and maybe by guess even more. So keep a portion of your portfolio. We can't attach percentages because that may differ person to person in this,
Mm.
but have a medium to long term in mind, or rather play out the India's growth story through this theme. Because approximately what I remember offhand is approximately 55 to 60% of the economy is somehow consumption related.
Yeah. Right. So if you're looking to have a piece of that consumption pie and wait for India's growth story, the NFO would be a good choice to make. But thank you so much for chatting with us today, Jatinder. It was such a pleasure. Jatinder Pal Singh, he's the CEO at ITI Mutual Fund, and for sharing all the finer details of this new fund on a new NFO that is out there. Guys, do remember ITI Bharat Consumption Fund is open from the 6th of February up until the 20th of February. But thank you for all those details. And like JP said, if you want to be part of that India growth story, then do definitely keep some portion of your portfolio towards consumption. That will definitely start to play out in the medium to long term. At least that's what we are taking away from this chat. Thank you so much for joining us. With that, it's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in. For more such updates, come back to 5paisa.com.
Thank you so much.